good afternoon, New York, and even good afternoon, San Francisco. Again, your health is our top priority. However, in these times when we're working from home, I think it's more important than ever to have community. For those who I haven't met yet, my name is Greg Geibel, and I build community here at Zendesk. Today, it's exciting as we start to think of the power of technology. You know, you might meet a friend from New York. You might meet a friend from San Francisco. You know, it's just as we go online, we ultimately have the opportunity to help more people. If we go to the next slide, although times are changing a little bit, our goals haven't. We'd like you to learn something, make a new friend, and ultimately have a little bit of fun and some laughter. And it's exciting to think about our technology and how we're able to accomplish those goals. If we can move to the next slide. Some of you might have participated in Zoom coffee talks, some maybe even in happy hours. It's amazing, the technology itself. But for those who haven't, just wanted to give you some, friendly lessons learned. So highly recommend the video being on during the breakout sessions, because it's always great to see a smiling face. So the microphones are going to be muted during the conversation itself. And we'd like this to be as interactive as possible. So Q&A along the way. Let's light up the chat. Then if we go to the next slide, a little bit about us. So started building community in San Francisco, had a little bit of success. We then took the show on the road to New York, and now we're going virtual and hopefully helping more people and bridging more friendships. Now, none of this could be possible without our customers. And the reason why this slide excites me is because there are so many amazing customer logos on here. And there are so many people who have, offered to help. Who knows? You might be thinking, Greg, how do I get my logo on there? And that idea probably brings the biggest smile to my face. Because again, we can't build without you. And it's amazing. I'm just going to say it. The last two people in the breakout rooms for our last presentation, they'll probably tell you their logos are on the next slide. So then if we go to the next slide, for those, as I alluded to, starting in San Francisco, took the show on the road to New York. And then if we go to the next slide, we then just a little bit about us, right? So for those who aren't familiar, 3 founders wanting to build the next generation service-first CRM. We are now at over 145,000 customers. Some of those include, today's Freshly, Handy, and Novo. We can't build community without amazing, amazing speakers and amazing friends. I truly, truly feel like I hit the lottery, with a flourishing friendship of Brian, Ben, and Devin. As we go to the next slide, I'd like to hand this thing off to Brian.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for the intro. Very good to be here. Always, it's been great. You've been putting on a lot of good stuff, and, you do a lot of hard work, so thanks a lot. So hello, everyone. I know a lot of you in the chat. A lot of you might not know me. I'm Brian Kale. I'm the head of customer success at Novo. We're a small business banking platform that provides free checking and debit accounts for our users. We also integrate with various services and software that they use, TransferWise, Xero, QuickBooks, Stripe, even Slack. I think we're the first banking product to integrate with Slack in the United States, which is interesting. I joined a year and a half ago. When I first got to Novo, we were working out of our Gmail inboxes. We were a seed round company. And now we have, I have 3 agents all on Zendesk using the full suite and really hum along, all of our channels pumping into one rather than having a bunch of dispersed channels. perennial startup person. I guess I'm kind of crazy that way. And I know that our other two panelists are no strangers to startups. So definitely can bring them on now to introduce them in. We have Devin Langston from Handy and Ben Segal from Freshly. Both of them have extensive startup backgrounds and know tons that we're all going to hear about in a second. So how are you both doing?
Hey, Brian. Hi, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Ben, I love it. You stuck with the steak. I thought you were debating switching it out.
You know, I could just move the head and then you get the chicken in there. I just got to make sure that, I'm keeping everybody hungry. That's what I'm trying to do here.
I'm really jealous of your background. I spent 5 minutes trying to pick a appropriate background for Novo, and then I just didn't do it.
A dollar sign didn't do? I thought he just should have had money behind him. Like I just went with food behind me.
It would have been very distracting. Like the chat's already distracting enough.
Yeah, there you go.
How are you both holding up? How's it been?
Sure. Devin, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Devin Langston. It's nice to see everybody. I also know some of these faces here. I don't have a cool background, but I have a fireplace and a very homey scene that I'm trying to procure, given that I work for Handy, which is the US's leading home services and cleaning company. So Handy, you can think of us as the Uber for home services. So if you need your house cleaned, or if you need a TV mounted, or you're having plumbing issues, you open up the Handy app, and much like an Uber, you kind of request a booking. And so someone will come to your house, sometimes same day, or you can schedule a service for future dates where, we offer top quality services there. How am I holding up is a good question. Obviously, the COVID situation around the globe has thrown some curveballs into our daily operations at Handy in general. Given that we go into people's homes and provide these services that have been considered essential, which is really great. So we're still up and running and really providing that sanitization service to people when they definitely need it, but also taking a hit in that, you might not want someone in your house right now that you don't know yet. So customer support, customer experience has seen some really interesting times transitioning and figuring out our new normal. We're obviously all working from home around the country and around the globe with our agent count, which is over a couple hundred. So it's been really interesting, and I'm sure we'll get into some of these details throughout the conversation, but I'm excited to be here and hanging out with my friends, Brian.
Yeah.
We have a good time.
Definitely. Ben, how have you been?
Sure. Thanks so much. It's been awesome trying to figure out work from home. I'm here up in Westchester, a little bit north of the city, a little one-bedroom apartment. My wife and I are both working from home, so trying to find space to both have our meetings at the same time has been a challenge, but working with it. Backgrounds like this help, so you guys can't see the whole apartment behind me. It's great. Just have to look at the beautiful freshly staked peppercorn. My history. So I've been at Freshly since 2016. Came into a team was super small, around like 13 people, and now growing to this large, multi-country department that has close to 200 plus people in it. It's been a heck of a ride at Freshly, and it's been a fun time. So looking forward to this.
That's great. I have a friend, him and his wife have been working from home, and she's a therapist, so she's taking conference calls like every half hour. So he actually set up an office in his bathroom and he puts a table over the toilet and he works in there all day because he can't be on the calls with her. So it's been pretty interesting.
There you go. There's an office.
Yeah. So asides. One of the goals here today is we want everyone to take in some insight or have some action that they could take back to their company. Maybe some inspiration, some idea, some thought. Devin has a bunch of great ideas about like remote stress relief and like happy hour stuff. So if we could get her talking on that, that'd be great. But if not, we could just slide on to the next slide.
We're doing a scavenger hunt at 5:30 tonight. If anyone wants to Zoom bomb and drop in, I'm hosting a scavenger hunt for my team. I've heard it's very fun. I think there's only so much fun you can have when in your home and doing a scavenger hunt, but I'll report back to the team how it goes.
Nice.
What's involved in scavenger hunt? Not that we have to like dive into this.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to prep for it after this call, so I don't know fully yet, but it's like go and find a roll of toilet paper, go and find something fuzzy, and then you get extra points if it's unique per se. Like not everyone can lift up their cat. You know, you only get one person that can do that. And then someone else has to show something else fuzzy, or it's like, if you have cheese in your refrigerator. So it's kind of like things that you should have, and then you get points, and we'll probably throw in some form of take a sip of your beverage if you have it. So we'll try to spice it up a little bit.
That's great. But on to the meat of why we're here. So we have a couple topics today. The first one is staffing. You know, in normal times and all times, everyone has a lot of questions around staffing, hiring, and recruiting. And then we also have outsourcing and BPO. So we're going to kind of dive into them real quick. Devin, I know that it often comes up when hiring and recruiting. A lot of people want to know is, like, what's your strategy? Like, what are you looking for in a candidate? How do you find your company values and stuff? Like, what is your process when doing all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll kind of talk on it in two different aspects, given that I don't know everybody on this call, and we're probably all in very different kind of stages of our company's growth. And so you might be directly hiring agents that are on your frontline staff, and then you also might be in a more managerial position where you're hiring managers of agents or team leads, or you're just in a different position. So I've had the privilege of being in kind of both positions. So a little background: before I was at Handy, I was with Uber for about 4 years, in 2014 to 2018. And so helped to really build and scale those organizations, both in-house and out-house. And so was able to do that direct agent hiring as well as step into a more managerial position. So for those who are looking for hiring of agents and those who are on the front lines, I think someone who is really customer centric is obviously very important in our industry. So someone who, you know, sticks to their guns and will come at you and say, I think this policy is wrong and here's why, because it's harming our customer, it's harming whoever that end customer is, right? So from Handy's perspective, we have both customers and professionals. So you have the person who needs their house cleaned, and then you have the house cleaner, and then you have Handy, who's right in the middle, who is really just that linking factor between the two. And so my agents don't necessarily have a customer is always right mentality, because you might have conflicting information from both of those parties. And so how is it that you toe the line there? So someone, when hiring, when they can come to me and say, I want to fight for these policies, I want to fight for this person because I think that it's best for the customer or the pro or whoever it is in that situation, is someone that I definitely want on my team. Other qualities I think are just intelligence as well as street smarts. So I have definitely taken chances on people before that have zero customer support experience. I myself, my background was in finance before I got into CX, and someone took a chance on me at Uber, and it turned out to be a really great experience, and I found a real passion for myself in this. So I would say that it's not worth it to limit yourself by saying, I need someone with all this CX background, I need them to have worked in every system. It's obviously a huge help, but someone who has that street smart and that brain to just think through critically a problem and get to a solution that you feel comfortable with I think that trumps anyone whose resume has years and years of work on it that is exactly CX related. So that's kind of from a very agent perspective as well as managerial. And then I will say from just the managerial, how I hire and how I like to hire is someone who has had bad customer experiences. I always try to ask this question too of like, what's the bad customer experience you've had, and why does it grind your gears? Why are you so upset by that? And I want to see that there's that passion of, I was so irritated when I was on the phone for hours with this company because, no one should have that experience. I just paid, $800 for this ticket to somewhere. And then I was on the airline phone for so long. It's so, infuriating. So I want someone who has that experience and who has been in the world and isn't just kind of giving me talking points in that sense. Someone who can be real with me and talk through those conversations. So kind of a long-winded answer. I'm obviously passionate about hiring because I think it really sets the foundation for your whole org. So that's where I would take that question, Brian.
Oh, great answer. Definitely not long-winded. I think the one thing that resonates is taking a chance. I myself, someone took a chance on me. And when I hire people, I look for bartenders, waiters, service people. And even though they're in the service industry, like those people often have a lot of hidden talents. Ben, is there anything specific, couple of seconds, minutes? Do you have anything that you want to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of second all of what you guys just said. And additionally to that, what we really look for is creativity. Because sometimes in CX, you got to think about creative ways to problem solve. So when we hear created my own board game or figured out how to code my own video game. That stuff is like, great for us. And we'll look at that higher than, I worked in this contact center for the last 10 years. We figure we can train someone up, with a great product like Zendesk, quick plug. We can train someone up on that. But we have a harder time finding someone who's a little bit more empathetic or has that creativity bug in them. So we look for the same things that you were looking for, in addition to someone who will take the initiative to go and do something fun and creative on their own. And that's worked out pretty well for us.
Great. Devin says she always asks one specific question. Do you have a specific question you have? I know you know mine, and I can get into them if we want, but do you have a specific one that you go to? I know that you do things based off company values.
We do. We kind of have each one of our questions plays into each one of the company values. So I kind of stick with those 10 and I throw them in as anywhere that I can. I wouldn't say that there's one specific one that I throw in, but I will second what Devin had said, that I always want to see like who was their best boss, who was their worst boss, what was their best customer experience, what was their worst customer experience, and then hearing how they respond to that and what they consider to be bad aspects of a leader or good aspects of a leader, or what was memorable about a really poor customer experience. Because if they can recognize that, then they're more likely not to do that, to others themselves. So those are sort of the things that I go for. But what is the question you always go to?
Well, I'm going to keep it. So for Novo, we ask, if you could start a small business, what would it be? Obviously, that's relevant to us. I also have the alien question. I don't know if we want to get into it here. I ask every single one, aliens have just invaded Earth and we elected you to represent all of humanity. What was the one thing you would say to them to represent us? And it's usually, you get a lot of creative answers and responses. And I find it's a way to ask how people are creatively thinking and thinking on the spot, because no one's ever been asked that question before. So I really like it. And you really get honest answers out of people. And it's kind of like a service related thing. But that kind of leads into our next thing with you, Ben, is a lot of people, as their companies start to scale, my company is still pretty small. We're a seed round company still. We're not really looking yet, but a lot of people, as they begin to scale, start having these questions about outsourcing and keeping things in-house and when and where to do it, BPOs or not BPOs. So I know that you have a lot of experience with this, so I'd definitely love to hear your thoughts on, should a company BPO or keep it in-house? And definitely would love to hear what all of that you have to say. Sorry.
Sure. And this is something that we took pretty seriously at Freshly. We wanted to really tiptoe into it. We weren't sure what our mix was going to be and if we really wanted to jump full in on BPO versus in-house. So for a quick 2-second background on my team, like I said earlier, we were just about 13 people in a little office in New York. A lot of our customers are on the West Coast, so we were working in New York and our hours weren't working out. So we expanded to have a contact center in downtown Phoenix. Number one, we were cooking meals out that way, and 2, the hours were better to cover West Coast hours. So we wound up with a small team in New York, a larger contact center in Phoenix, but it was still difficult to get to that 24/7 coverage. And the problem there is that you wind up coming in every morning with a backlog of things that came in overnight, and you would have to work a couple hours every morning to get through those tickets before you can start responding in real time. So a big goal for us was getting to 24/7, and as we were shipping more and more meals, the contacts were increasing as well. So it became obvious that we were going to need to look probably offshore to at least help with overnight hours to get us to 24/7 coverage. We started really, really small, and I would say our size at the time was probably about 15 in New York and probably like 40 to 50 in a contact center in Phoenix, all US based. And at that point was when we felt we were getting big enough to examine BPO worlds even to start. What we did was we went with like 5 agents and a supervisor for one shift and 5 agents and a supervisor for a second shift, and really tiptoed into it. That's pretty small when you think about like 10 people and 2 leaders to start with a BPO. Usually they want to hear that you want to open a full office. You're looking at 40, 50x people, something like that. So we were lucky enough to find a partner who was willing to take a shot on us and start really small. And since then we've grown to where we have, 50, 60 at one BPO, and even partnered with a second BPO to kind of compare and contrast like how their metrics were doing and kind of held them against each other and see which one is going to outperform. And we've seen a bunch of other companies do the same thing. So now we're really mostly BPO and still maintain a small contact center in Phoenix and our remote team in New York. And that's kind of worked for us, but open to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I'll just jump in really quickly too. I think that I agree with all of that. The one thing I would say that I think about when talking through in-house versus BPO is just whether or not I want to really incubate something and how close I need to keep it kind of to the business, to the core business owners. So from past experience at Uber, we would incubate so many things. Half the projects that you take and that you use right now within Uber, they started out as such small areas that we just wanted to develop into. And so those were things that we would say, all right, we're going to keep that in-house. We're going to start off a small team of 10, a small team of 20 here onshore. And then as we grow, as we work through all those hiccups, as we develop better training and we poke holes through the areas that just were not as solid, then I feel most comfortable saying, okay, you know what, we've got this thing 80% of the way that's baked. I feel good about 80% of things. And that's whenever I kind of give the green light and say, all right, let's start looking at more cost efficient ways to handle this. So it's really that idea of if it's new and I'm a little nervous, I keep it close. And then once I have that comfort, I'm like, you know what, the BPOs are made to do these things and they're fantastic at it. Let's let them just go and crank it out. That's kind of my 2 cents on top of your already great guidance, Ben.
Great insight, both of you. No, thank you. Because, you know, as my company is looking to scale, those are all questions I'm asking. So welcome back, everyone. Great to be here. Hopefully the breakout went really well. The unstructured type of thing, I think. Yeah, cool. So here we are on the next topic, which is prioritizing CX at your company. This is different for everyone. A lot of companies have different priorities, different questions. A lot of CX teams have different priorities and different questions to answer. The first topic of 2 is balancing cost versus quality and efficiency. And the second one is driving customer obsession at your company. So let's just get back into the swing of things with Ben. How do you prioritize cost of running your department versus quality of the experience provided versus the efficiency of the same experience provided?
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting question because each one of these could probably be its own like hour worth of stuff to talk about. So kind of managing all of them is the juggling act that we do as CX leaders, making sure that, you know, we're keeping costs low while quality is super high and we're being super efficient in doing that. So I would say that in cost, we definitely focus on looking at our awards and refunds and like what is our cost per contact. A lot of that is, you know, factoring in the cost of salary for agents and the cost of a Zendesk seat, things like that. Some of those are fixed costs, so you're not gonna be able to really touch that much, but the amount of money we give away in awards and refunds or accommodations, however you want to call them at your company, is something that we've been strategically looking at for some time. And the number one thing to do is reduce the reason for those things. So not just say, oh, we're giving away $20. Could we give away 15 and still get people happy? But let's find out why we had to give away that $20 and find out if we can get to the root cause of that issue and then try to fix that. So in our world, it was a lot to do with delivery and getting people their food on time. So how could we get more people in a 1-day zone than a 2-day zone if we use different carriers and then reduce some of those contacts that were requiring an accommodation? And that was a big piece for us to reducing the overall cost of the contact center. And then obviously using a BPO was cost effective as well. What we do for quality is we created this internal QA metric. Internally, we call it CPRO. And we value that high. Like even when we were just 13 people in a room, we were doing CPRO. And our take was that if you look at just CSAT, right, and see that, hey, the customers are saying they're happy, and if you look at efficiency and find out that, yeah, that contact was answered really quickly, you could be missing a big piece of the pie if you're not doing QA. Why? Someone says, hey, Freshly, you stink, I want all my money back. You can reply very quickly and say, oh, sure, here's all your money back. That contact was answered in 2 seconds. The customer is going to be very, very happy. But in QA, you would find out, oh, that's not following any rules, and we're going to be out of business very soon if we have many more contacts like that. So you want to make sure that you're following some sort of internal policy and checking for that while making sure that they are efficient at the same time. And efficiency came down to really looking at what are the tools that the agents are using and how can they see the information that they need as quickly as possible and resolve that contact as quickly as possible. So we took things like building our own apps that live on the right-hand side of Zendesk to pull information from our back-end admin site so that as soon as that agent opens the ticket, they can see information right there on the right without having to leave that area. And then we can build in little buttons there as well to take actions on the back end without having to go to the back end. So that's become a lot of what I do now, is building out some tech for CX to get us more and more efficient. Like I said, each one of those could be their own hour-long thing, but I just wanted to touch on those. And then when we get into the breakouts, if you guys are with me, I'll go in further depth on every one of those. But that's my 2-second answer.
I hope I'm in your breakout then.
There you go.
Devin, any thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, echoing everything that he said, this is actually my recruiting question that I ask everybody. So from a lot of the managerial positions, I just always like to ask, just tell me about cost, quality, and efficiency. I just want to see if they have an understanding that the relationship between the three of these is naturally tense and that it needs to be. When you pull one side of the string and another one moves, and you really have to prioritize there. The last thing I will say, or the only thing I'll try to say, is just that I try to take the direction on these from my senior management. So this is almost a CEO decision for me, where it's like, hey, I can prioritize one of these three things, and you have to tell me which way you want me to lean here, because there is this tension and I cannot have all of these firing at all times, but we can try our best. And so I think it's good to have that overarching kind of leadership buy-in on, okay, you know what, this is the quarter of cost. Like, we are doing everything we can to help mitigate costs. We're doing everything we can for just driving down that per contact cost. Or there's times whenever it's, you know what, we're just all about quality. Our CSAT has really dove, like, just make the quality better, Devin. I don't care how much it costs. And so I try to take that guidance where I can, because ultimately I think CX is this downstream function a lot of times. And you do need that guidance from other areas of the business that might have more insight into the business as a whole, and helping you to say, this is what I want the CX org to be focusing on right now. So that's kind of my 2 cents on just these three. And I stand by that.
It's great. That's a very good response as well. Managing up with this is often very important. This dovetails right into the next topic on the slide, which is driving customer obsession at your company. Since you just so wellly put it, how do you do this? How do you drive customer obsession at your company, Devin? Like, what are the things that you bring to the table? I know the cost versus quality and efficiencies involved in that, but definitely love to hear more of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's hard, right? And I don't know if anyone else feels this, but my background has been in CX for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years at this point, and it's not always top of mind for the rest of a company. In fact, it's really not on their minds pretty often at all. And so how is it that you get your C-suite or your leadership team or even your peers to say, oh yeah, that is important. Oh yeah, I should be telling them about a new product that I'm launching, et cetera. And so ways that I try to do this are just through data. So I say, hey, whenever you break this, it affects my team in this way. And here's the cost behind it. I'm not making this up. It's not just because I'm being a pain in the butt, but it's like, when the app is down, my agents have to handle it in XYZ way. And it is costing us, this amount of dollars. And I'll just let that sit here. So you just take that and do with it what you want. But here's how I try to influence things. And that way, that's if I'm kind of being the aggressive way. If I'm trying to be more kind and more sweet, I love to just tell the stories of CX. So each week on our leadership team at Handy, I'll report out a couple of our comments that we've gotten back through either CSAT scores or through, tweets that have come in a positive way or in a negative way. I think that that's the best way to surface things too, is it's like, hey, we're not always peachy clean. Everything's not always running smoothly. And I want you to know that, but I also want you to hear the good. So I try to make sure that I'm surfacing that feedback up to the team, as well as to the whole company. So on our screens throughout Handy, the office, we've got customer clips, customer comments and professional comments that people can see throughout the day, just to make sure that they're staying in a mentality of, we're building and we're working for others, right? We are an external company that's just here to make a kick butt product for everyone else. The third and last thing I'll say too, and this was from my Uber days, is creating a voice of the customer program has been, I think, revolutionary in bringing truly the voice of the customer into headquarters. And so this looked like for us, we would fly agents actually from Chicago and Phoenix out to San Francisco, and we would fly 10 agents at a time and facilitate shadowing sessions for a week where you would come down and you would sit with them for 2 hours each. These would be engineers, these would be product managers, this would be VPs, this would be, I know that, our CEO had done sessions at one time and listened to phone calls and tried to do tickets themselves. And there's just nothing better, in my opinion, than having that experience happen to get somebody to go back to their desk and say, oh my gosh, like I need to fix this. I can't believe that I've had an agent having to work this long on this without it. So if you can have any sort of voice of the customer program, it can be extremely scaled back where everyone just does tickets one day a quarter, where you host a couple hours in a conference room where it's called like, come on down to the support station or something like that. I just think that if there's one thing I can suggest, it's really that.
That's great insight. Ben?
Brian, yeah, I was going to add one thing to it. We agree with everything that Devin just said, but additionally to that, there was this Monday morning company stand. We would all get around, New York headquarters. CEO would be there. He would kind of lead it, give a company update. And we asked to be able to stand up there, to have my VP and myself kind of read 2 really great comments that came in over the last week and 2 really negative comments to the whole company, all standing up at the same time. What we found at the end of that was, different people from different departments would come up to us at the end and be like, hey, what broke there? Like, what happened? What can I do to turn that around? Like, if we had had better tech, if we had had a different carrier, maybe that wouldn't have occurred. And they started to get their buy-in. What I thought would be even better, and I just did this on my own, was when I saw really great comments come in, or if I saw really good interaction, I would then reach out to that customer on my own from my own personal email address and just say, hey, would you mind just recording like a 1 or 2 minute video? I'm only going to show this internally at our company stand in the morning. I think it's time that they hear a different voice, not just my own. And I got a few customers to just record a video on their iPad, like an elderly woman who just held up her iPad and tried to record it. And it was so personal and so authentic. That I would take that and then show it on the screen on Monday morning instead of just me reading good comments. And that helped everybody really remember who those people were, not just a customer, but they knew their name, they knew what they looked like, they knew what they sounded like, and they were really connected to it. So I think that helped. Having that early on in the company has really helped us scale here, where there's never a question of, oh, does CX really need that? It's always CX needs it all. What can we do to make it better? How can we get the customer's experience to be better? So that's been really, really helpful for us.
Great. Great follow-up. All of that is good. I think one thing I find that also helps is breaking things down into like cost, which Devin pointed out. Like once you start showing people the money, then they go, oh, okay, maybe we really should prioritize this. So that usually helps a lot. But great answers to those questions. And I think we have time for one more breakout session, right, Greg?
So I think we're gonna, maybe the breakout session might be a little shorter this time, but I think we're gonna jump into a quick second breakout, and then we'll bring everybody back. We'll follow up with some of the questions from the chat afterwards. If we could move to the next slide, and then if we could again move to the next slide. So guys, first and foremost, I can't thank these speakers enough. The amount of calls, the amount of preparation, the amount that goes into this thing, as well as our entire team. Words can't say thank you. As we try and find more opportunities to connect, we've got 2 more opportunities. I'm bad with technology, but one of my teammates would know how to take a screenshot. So if there was a slide you wanted to take a screenshot of, this one might be it, right? And again, so we've got some great content with, Red, Simple Practice, and Joybird coming up on the 22nd. And then from there, we've got some another great talk lined up with Digit Fandom and Lever on the 6th. I guess we'll head to the next slide. And with this, I'd like to hand it off to Pedro, also known as P Money.
All right, thank you, Greg. And P Money is my new name since last year when Greg joined our team. So most of my friends and my family now are calling me P Money. So years ago, when you go into deep into a community, thank you all for spending your time with us today. I'm P Money and I'm working Zendesk for startups, and we are very happy
I see
to
you, Brian.
build this community with you all. And for the ones that are not familiar, and that's for startups, is a membership program that matches our CRM rich technology with our community members, right? Yes, I like the money ring, Brian. And today I'm here to remind you all that we have an offer that we provide 6 months free of our solutions that include our support suite, that is our omni-channel bundle that connects your live chat, knowledge base, phone support, email, social media into one easy to use platform. And on top of that, our team hosts office hours every Tuesday. And we keep hosting these amazing events every other week. And we are also, if you join our next event in May, we are launching something really cool that I don't want to spoil right now. So with that say, if you want to join the program, Greg is going to send an email with the address over, and maybe Sammy, you can post the link here on the chat so people can sign up and start using our products.